the Washington, D.C. area, all empowered citizens need to know about intelligent use of resources, smart governance, inclusive communities, smart industry, and healthy, thriving urbanization. This is Smart Sustainability, the TV talk about shaping a sustainable future in the digital age with Nicolette DeVidar. Technology has invaded every part of our lives, including the most personal and the most precious, dating, the space of our heart, where all of our hopes and dreams live, or sometimes die, depending on what you walk away with. The success rate of technology invading our heart space is there, somewhat limited, but it's there if we believe the data. Nature, however, produces success stories that in your wildest imagination you couldn't cook up. There is a magic to it that tech, sorry to say, simply can't produce. Dating in times of technology versus trusting in nature, our topic tonight. Good evening, thanks for joining us. I'm Nicolette DeVidar. Have you ever thought that out of all things that's there, a rooster can help you land the partner of your dreams? Online dating and dating apps have become an almost must-go-to for a majority of adults these days. In 2017, according to Statista, about 28.9 million Americans used online dating. By 2022, this number grew to 50.8 million. eHarmony published statistics that suggest that 40% of adult Americans use online dating across all age groups. Apparently, 53% of users, though, lie on their online dating profile about age, height, weight, job, and income, of course. Well, not really surprising, given that tech serves most above all for creating avatars, more based on wishful thinking and non-existing virtual reality. So how many people find love actually on dating portals? Well, statistics say about 20%. 60% meet through a friend, and the interesting part is that 48% of online relationships apparently end through email. That's rather ugly, isn't it? And the magic of online dating stories is just not the same in comparison to how the magic of life can lead you to the right person. Workplaces are also areas of romantic potential, much more actually than Americans like. About 62% of workers said they got romantic with a coworker. And about 22% of married couples in the United States today met at work. Now, matchmaking isn't anything new. It's as old as humanity. Parents have done it, families have done it. Professional matchmakers, even today, have actually quite a success rate, with some of them claiming a marriage success rate of 50% and higher. Personal matchmaking has an advantage as to meeting people that are pre-vetted, apparently, and possibly match your category of interest or social standing. Some of them also provide psychological help and guidance. It exists. But how often do we hear of that magical story that just makes your heart beat by hearing how life brings people together in a way that arranged dating simply can't compete with? According to a Pew study, 3 in 10 adults said in 2020 they were single. 31% of women identified as single and 31% of men. Many among them, according to Pew, aren't looking to date though. But for those of you who are, we want to share how magical nature can bring you a partner when you least expect it. Joining me tonight is Jeanne Spoljaric and Steve Schmitz from New York State, a couple who met under very funny circumstances that I think highlight the magic of guidance being at the right time and the right place when both are ready. Welcome, both of you. Great to have you on.
This is fun, and I can't get over those statistics. Those are amazing.
Yeah, I know. I figured that one. Is really, really interesting. All right, let's get right to it. Let's start with you, Jeanne. How did you actually meet?
Okay. So I bought a house, and the house that I bought, the people that were selling the house had backyard chickens. And I thought, they told me that they were building another home. They couldn't take the chickens with them. So would I be so kind to just incorporate chickens? And I thought, what the heck? Well, let's do some chickens.
Wait a minute.
And
did you have chicken before? Did you have any experience?
I never had any chickens before. And so we just, figured I'd go with the flow and get the chickens. And so it was fun. And after a couple of years, I decided to get some more chickens. And I got a group of babies. And I was told by the lady that I got them from that they were all females. So when I got home, and it was probably about, 2 weeks in, they were getting a little bigger. And all of a sudden, I heard a very faint, caw, 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 caw. So I thought to myself, okay, clearly we have a rooster in our group of ladies. So I decided that I was going to name him Huey Hefner because he was surrounded by the ladies. So then maybe 2 or 3 days after that, there was another little caw, caw, caw. So I thought, oh no, I have 2 roosters. And so make a long story short, these roosters, they were brothers, but they decided that they were teenage boys and they fought over the girls. So the one rooster injured the other rooster, and I got to the point where I could no longer keep them together, that I had to make a separate area for Huey Hefner. And
so Huey Hefner got his separate mansion?
Yes, he did. He definitely had his Hef mansion. There's no doubt about it. It was like a condo. So during this whole situation, I was, it was very stressful. I was trying to keep them separated. So poor little Huey Hefner didn't get hurt anymore. And then I remembered the guy down the street that I think he's a fence guy.
So wait a minute. When you said you remembered the guy down the street, that means though you remembered that there was someone who built fences for chicken? Or fences, but you didn't know who you were talking about yet.
No, so exactly. I knew from moving into the house that driving up and down my street, I had seen him. I had already checked him out, and I noticed.
Wait, you said you had seen him as in person or his business?
Yeah, I saw him driving by in my car.
Okay,
and I noticed him. He caught my eye. And I thought, okay, but I kept driving. And then when I needed a fence, I was like, okay, I'm pretty sure that guy down the street does fences. So I'm going to call him. So I called him. It was the beginning of a Labor Day weekend. And he called me back on Labor Day Monday, like I think 2 days later. And I told him my story that at this time I had my rooster living in my bathroom. Because he was injured from the other rooster. So I'm like, listen, I really have to get a fence because I can't continue to live with a rooster in my bathroom for too much longer. And so like I said, he came up on Labor Day Monday. We definitely caught each other's eye, I think. And we started talking. And, he never gave me the estimate. He just started working. I think I'm still waiting for the bill.
So wait a minute. So you're still waiting for the bill?
Yeah, he hasn't sent me a bill yet.
So he started working. Steve, you went to work without any contract or nothing?
Not anything.
That's right.
She lived just up the street from me.
I was desperate.
And I had seen her a few times. And when I got the phone call saying...
you two left that story out, by the way, at the bar, that you had seen each other already, it caught your interest before, just so you know that. So when I heard that story for the first time, when I heard this story for the first time, I thought they just met. That's how it came across at that moment when he introduced the fence. But you said there's actually a little pre-story to it.
Just a little. We never spoke. We never talked.
Okay.
we never met face to face. It was just sort of a drive-by thing. And I remembered, okay, the guy down there builds fences, so I'm going to call him.
So what did you actually tell him? You said, hey man, I need somebody to build a fence for my rooster who I now keep in the bathroom?
Exactly. I have a rooster in my bathroom, and I need a fence.
Okay, hang on a second. So Steve, when you get a call and you hear that someone has a rooster in the bathroom and you need to go build a fence, honestly, what was your first thought?
I wasn't really surprised because I've been doing this for over 35 years, so I've seen all kinds of situations. But once I knew it was her, I called her back immediately. Only because we had seen each other. She used to drive by all the time, so all we would kind of do was look at each other for a few months. And but we never spoke. We maybe cracked a smile, but there was no waving, nothing like that. It was just kind of, a mutual thing. When she would drive by, we'd kind of look at each other. And there was just this little bit of energy there that I always kind of felt. And I got the call for the fence, and I was up there as soon as I could. So basically what it comes down to.
So, okay, let me ask you though, Steve, how many fences for Rooster? You haven't built fences for roosters for 35 years.
No, I've built fences for let's see, the worst places you want to be in is prisons. Okay, I do mostly residential fencing. Okay, at people's houses. Okay, we do commercial fencing as well. So in the past 35 years, I've done pretty much a little bit of everything, but now it's primarily residential fencing.
Okay, so let's get back to that day. So then you showed up, you started working without a contract, without ever giving an estimate. So Jeanne, how were you so comfortable that you weren't going to be presented with a giant bill afterwards?
I started feeling confident because I had a lot of rock in my backyard, and we talked about the idea of where we would put this fence, and there was a whole big area of like ledge rock. So I said, how hard is this going to be to take care of this?
Right.
And it's okay. It'll be all right. Don't worry about it. I have some used materials. We can make this work. And I was on a little bit of a budget, so I kind of felt I felt very good about him trying to help me.
Were you looking at the time though for someone to date?
No, I just wanted to get this fence done so I could get the rooster out of my bathroom. And I just, I didn't want to do all your statistics about online dating. I was like, no way am I going to get into that. I'd rather be single. And then it just sort of happened. It was just kind of a magical, one of those things that when you meet somebody and you just know.
So you knew at first sight, the moment he showed up?
Pretty much. When pretty much. It was sort of like, okay, well,
so,
this guy.
Didn't
but
you?
No, it was sort of like just meeting him, so, you can't move too quick.
So you told me, though, when we first spoke that you watched him building the fence, right?
Yes. That was, yes. He had to carry some, was it a 6x6, I believe? So yes, it was kind of delightful to watch him carry big, heavy items.
And what were you wearing that day, Steve? Do you remember?
Carhartt shorts and a tank top.
Perfect.
And what was your reaction, Jeanne? So when you told me your story at first, what was the moment where you kind of thought, that's the guy I'm going to go after?
Well, it was, I was trying to be a little reserved in the beginning and just sort of pacing myself. And so, but he agreed he would work all day building fences. And then he came to my house at the end of the day. After he put in a full day's work, he showed up at my house to build my fence. And that was pretty much like, wow, this guy really is trying to help me. And it's wonderful. And then, the next day came and he came back.
Hang on a second.
No.
Didn't you ask him in for a beer, as I recall?
Well, that wasn't on day one.
You can't skip some stories here. We want to know the full story.
That was not on day one.
Okay.
strictly business. I need a fence. He's like, okay, I can do that.
Okay.
So then, he's like, well, I can start. I can't remember the day. Let's just say Wednesday. I'll be over Wednesday after work, and we'll start. Okay, great. So probably by about Friday, and it was really Labor Day, so it's the end of the summer. It was one of those hot weekends, and so after maybe the third or fourth time that he came to my house to work, I decided, okay, I'm going to offer this guy a beer. It's he's worked hard all day. It's hot out. Let's have a beer. So he agreed to have a beer, and we stood outside in the grass back by the chicken coop and had a beer. And then a couple days later, he came back. So, of course, I'm going to offer him another beer because that was fun. Then I said, listen, we don't have to stand here in the grass and drink a beer. We can go sit down on the porch. So that's kind of where it led. And we moved the party to the porch, if you will. And we just started talking and talking and talking and talking. And, a couple more beers.
Uh-huh.
And it was, really then that we started to find out that we had gone to the same high school together.
Wait. Hang on a second here. I need to inject here something. So,
Yeah.
Steve, you're a business owner, right? Do you often sort of, take this invite from one of your customers, particularly, if there's a single woman and you would agree to have a beer?
Well, let's just say that in 35 years of working, okay, that was the first time I ever had a drink with a customer, but it was a female customer. So I would never drink on the job, even if I had to drive home at the end of the day. So this was the first. So
Apparently I'm special.
But then here's the other thing. I want to get into something else. Now, you both had a life before, right? Before you met.
Yes.
A separate, yeah. So were you both married?
We were both married. Yep.
You were both.
He has 3 kids. I have 3 kids.
Uh-huh.
And
now
they're all adults now.
Yeah. And now when you started talking to each other, you realized that you both went to the same school, but you had never met, although you're in the same age group. So technically you should have met.
I robbed the cradle. I'm a year and a half older than him, but we did attend the same high school at the same time, and we never knew each other. We never met. He's the middle one. He has an older brother and a younger brother, and I never knew them. We never knew.
But you come from a fairly small community, right? Are you sure you haven't met in high school? Maybe you just don't remember each other.
Never met. Never met.
Did you know
we have the same friends. We had some similar friends after talking. We definitely we knew the same people here and there, but we must have just not hung out in the same groups. We never crossed paths. Interesting. You live your whole life in the same town and all through school. Nope, never saw each other.
Same community, same town, same school, and you never saw each other. Never met each other, didn't know each other by name, nothing.
Never. Nope.
5 minutes in a car from house to house.
And you lived, and yeah. Now, didn't you also say that your families grew up actually in vicinity to one another?
Yes. So, and that's the whole thing. And I would say if anything, our relationship just started out with just major talking, a lot of talking, which is a really good thing. and person
to person talking versus online chatting, right?
Yeah. Well, you can't lie about your weight or your height or
no, you
looks or your job or the fact that I have a rooster hiding in my bathroom.
Yeah.
And how many people, do you know that could say that? But
and particularly, can you imagine if somebody sort of read online that you are having a rooster in your bathroom? Somebody would think like you're cuckoo. Something's wrong with the person.
Totally understood.
Yeah. So then you discovered
my mom's family had a dairy farm in Rosendale on Creek Locks Road. And then after we got talking, Steve's his father's side of the family also had a dairy farm in the same town. How many miles away from each other would you say? Like 10?
3-4 miles away.
3 or 4 miles.
Yeah.
Okay,
but so you wait a minute. So your family and Steve's family both had a dairy farm in the same town, about 3 miles away from one another.
Yes.
Yep.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. And you still didn't know anything about the other family?
His ancestors and my ancestors are in the same cemeteries. Like when you go to visit my mother, or his grandparents are there. It's sort of crazy.
So when you discovered all of this, I mean, how did you feel actually at first? That kind of must have felt like you're being hit with a brick, or the other person is making that stuff up. Doesn't it feel like that?
It was pretty crazy. It was pretty crazy. We just discovered that we had so much in common and never knew it. And it was just crazy, right?
So how long were you both married the first time? So in your first marriages, how long were you married?
I had 20 years and 3 daughters.
Right.
I had 25 and 1 son and 2 daughters.
Unbelievable. And you were still living in the same town?
Yeah.
No.
I lived in Saugerties when I was married with my family.
Okay, so away from it.
Yeah.
How far away?
15 minutes.
Okay, so not that far away.
No, not that far at all.
Unbelievable. I still cannot get over the fact that you grew up next to each other, you grew up in the vicinity, your ancestors did the same thing, you had common interests, you go to the same school, and yet you never bumped into each other.
That's how nature works.
In a small town,
right?
How many inhabitants are in that community?
Pardon me?
How many inhabitants or residents are in that community, or were in that community where you grew up?
Probably
60,000 in Kingston.
Kingston is 60,000.
Yeah.
One high school.
One high school.
Yeah, one high school.
Yep.
Unbelievable. It's still unbelievable. Okay, now let me ask you. So did the two of you, or either one of you, try online dating before?
No.
No.
Why not?
No. Nope.
Why not?
Not gonna.
Too many horror stories for me.
Like what?
Just not interested. Totally not interested in that. I'm sure some people can really do well with that, but that was definitely not anything I was interested in doing, not my scene.
Okay, so Steve, horror stories you heard, or horror stories you can give us an example of?
Well, I don't want to give any examples. Just to hear a lot of bum dates, and I'm not into that. I'd rather just wanted, if I was going to meet somebody, I would meet it, work out naturally, And to me, I don't have the time. I don't want to take the time to go online and find a date. I would rather just go out and be myself. And if I meet up with somebody, it works out, and it just happened to work out that way. So
Yes, it did.
Especially after 35 years of working for, working at people's houses and so forth, and meeting all kinds of different people, and it just, it was time.
When you say it was time, though, you said you weren't looking, and Jeanne said she wasn't looking. So did it kind of catch both of you totally unexpected?
Totally.
I didn't know how much I needed her until after I met her.
And how long have you been together since then? How many years?
Over 7 years now.
It's unbelievable. Seriously.
And we just built a house together. We've been living in it now for a month and a half.
So is this the house that we're seeing? Is this your new joint house, so to speak?
Yes, it is, yes.
This is our new joint house that we've been sleeping in for about a month and a half now. But during the time that we were building the house, we lived in a 10 by 16, a 10 by 16 shed, our pool house. So that's tight quarters. Some people might call it cozy. But basically, if you can live in a 10 by 16 little shed with another person for 6 months, and have no running water and, composting toilets. And if you can do that, you are good to go.
Okay, so now of course comes the question we all want to know. I know you at home want to know it, and me too. Where's the rooster today?
Well, that's a little bit of a sad story, but he passed away, and it was really a very sad time for us. He was really he had so much meaning because without him, without the whole situation, I may not have ever needed a fence. But I have his twin brother. His twin brother is Romulus, and he's still active. But yeah, Huey Hefner passed away. It was October, about 2 years ago. So
you're talking of the rooster, your rooster, Huey Hefner.
That's correct.
Yes, I'm just saying.
R.I.P. Huey Hefner too, but no, my rooster.
Very, very, very funny story. So obviously nature actually has a much better way. Well, actually there's definitely more magic in it when you meet that way. How many people in your friends or in your community actually sort of have a similar magical story that met through something like this, totally unexpected versus the new apps, dating apps or whatsoever?
Yeah, I don't know anybody that has met the way that we met and had it work out this well.
Yeah. So what would you say? What was the magic you both brought to it, so to speak?
Just honestly, there was just a magnetic pull. The stars were lined up. I don't know if you want to get hokey about it, but for sure, the right time, the right place, the right person, and the fact that we started our relationship out very open, very honest, and just talked so much about everything. Right?
And you were both ready for it, obviously. Do you believe in the fact that when people are ready, the timing is ready, that the stars align?
Totally,
yes.
Yep. Mm-hmm. That's our story. And we're sticking to it.
Yeah, it's really a great story. Thank you so much for coming on. Great to have you on. I think we all actually need to have more of these magical stories so we learn to trust in nature more and stop trying to do everything the artificial way in terms of just going out and trying to do something by force, which simply isn't ready yet. Would you agree with that, Jeanne and Steve?
Yeah.
It would be nice if we could hear a rooster, but we might be able to do something about this anyway. But thank you so much. Yes?
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks so much for coming on, guys. Have a wonderful evening. I also want to share some experiences on dating portals from people who've done it on the technical thing and how those dating portals, helpful as they sometimes may be, rather take the magic away from it. At least when we try too hard. So watch what we found out.
On some online dating. How long have you been doing it?
A few years now.
On and off?
On and off.
Consistently?
Yes. No, definitely on and off.
Okay. So are there some times that are more frequented generally in online dating or not? Like, for example, Christmas or the holidays, or?
The Christmas and the holidays are not a good time for online dating. It's very bleak. There's not a lot of people on during the holidays. Spring, love is in the air, and spring is actually the best time for online dating.
Ah, okay. So give us a highlight and a low light of your online dating experience. Like, what's a highlight? What was a really super positive experience that you had?
I've actually had very good luck with online dating for the most part. A really good experience is when you really connect with the person right away, and then it follows through. You connect. Just seeing their profile, then you connect when you start texting each other, and Then you have a phone call and you connect even more, and then you meet in person, and it goes from there.
So it happened.
And it happens.
So what were some of the low lights? Give us like one experience where it's, oh my God, that maybe keeps me off for a while.
Like I said, I've had actually very good luck with online dating, and I attribute that to I'm a very good judge of character from the beginning. I think maybe the worst experience that I had is that I met with someone at a restaurant, and he didn't look anything like his picture. His picture was, 10 years older.
Mm-hmm.
And but that, he was still a very nice person, and we had a nice time. But I let him know that you misrepresented yourself on the profile.
Is there a dating app that you prefer? Have you tried different apps, or are you?
I've tried different apps over the years. There's popular ones. Every few years, a new popular one comes out. I think I started with Match.com, and then now I'm on Bumble.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Now, do they all have sort of like a psychological profile or a pre-vetting or an interest match or something?
I'm not sure what they do. They just have you fill out different. They answer different questions to put on your profile. But
Like what?
like what are your interests? What do you like to do after work? What's your sign? Where do you live? What are you looking for? There's some fun little questions like 2 truths and a lie, and some people fill that out.
2 truths and a lie? What's that?
That's where you will say 3 things about yourself, and 2 of them will be the truth, and 1 of them will be the lie, and then you have to guess which one is the lie. So
About yourself?
About yourself. No, you put it on there, and then the other people will try and guess what the lie is, and it's difficult because you don't know the person, so anything could be the lie. But it's a good starter for conversation.
Right.
You can say, hi. I noticed that. This is probably the lie.
Yeah. Now, have you noticed though with online dating, are there some changes in our overall behavior with one another, like male, female, for example? Who's taking the lead in online dating?
Oh, well, it used to be the men. Now it's the women, especially on Bumble. On Bumble, the woman makes the first move. If both of you match, if both of you swipe right on each other, it will show that you matched, and then the woman has to make the first move by sending the first email. That way, which I kind of like this because I don't get a barrage of emails from men that I'm not interested in.
Mm-hmm. So don't get a barrage of emails from men that are interested in. So the woman takes the first lead.
Right.
And then what happens?
But what's happening lately, which is a strange phenomenon, is when the woman makes her first move, she's expected to make every move after that.
So it's a role reversal?
It feels like a definite role reversal. I will make the first move. I'll start the conversation. They'll answer my questions back and forth. And then I'm finding that, a couple of days go by and they're not asking me for a date. And I will have to ask for the date.
So wait a minute. So the woman has to ask the guy out on a date? I mean, yes, it happens. We know that. And we're certainly more emancipated this way. But all the time?
And all the time is not good. I would like the role to reverse and they become the man.
So it sounds like we actually need more men to be men again.
Right. Unfortunately.
Interesting. So is that sort of in the general, in a cultural makeup, that we suddenly have reversed the roles and the roles have literally reversed all the way?
Yes, I'm finding that everywhere, not just on online dating. I'm finding that men do not treat women the same way they used to. They don't even look at you, even at your face. Never mind, we didn't like it when men ogled at our body, but it's gone completely the other way, where men don't look at you at all and are afraid to even talk to you.
But isn't that part our own fault? Isn't it part of the, feminism really going overboard? Have we
Absolutely.
not, in a way, neutralized the male sex?
Yes, the pendulum has swung completely the other way, and we have succeeded in emasculating men.
So how do we reverse it?
That's a good question. How do we reverse it? I don't know.
So how would we go about, so how do you come across, when you go online dating, for example, do you make this position clear to people that you start having a conversation with? So do you sort of tell at some point that, okay, maybe it's time for you to take the lead?
Yes, I said at one time to someone, we were texting back and forth, and I finally said, so if I make the first move, am I supposed to make the second move as well and ask you for the date? I was playing dumb a little bit to show them how kind of silly it is. And he immediately said, oh, no, I'll ask for the first date. I'm the man. And he, embraced it.
Right.
But I don't, it's a touchy thing. I don't want to insult them by saying that. I want it to happen naturally, but I'm finding that it's not.
Out of how many people, for example? Can you give us a number? Let's say you contact, I don't know, with how many people do you get in contact normally on online dating?
Actually,
I presume it's quite a few,
lately after COVID, it's been very few. And then also when you've been online dating for a little while, you become much more reserved and conservative, and you don't swipe right as much because you have more of a sense of what you're looking for. But as far as men asking for the date, it's 1 out of 5, I think. Lately, it hasn't come to fruition where you actually go on a date. There's a lot of just chatting online.
So you think that's a result from COVID and being more in isolation and more under lockdown, or is there just a general fatigue, maybe, of online dating? Because I'm sure what happens to many women is not the only. In fact, we've talked to men as well. We know actually men have very similar experience on the other spectrum, to the point where some were so disappointed that they didn't want to participate anymore in online dating.
I agree. I think it's the fatigue, and they're just getting tired of it. I've noticed on several profiles, men's profiles, they actually say, I don't want to text a lot. I would rather just meet in person. And my response to that is, well, why don't you ask them for a date? If that's the problem, are you waiting for them to ask you? You don't have to text. Just ask for the date. That's what I'm waiting for.
But I think for men, this has become quite difficult nowadays. I think, aren't we demanding a little bit too much? Because we live in a society where men sometimes get in trouble, if you're really honest about it, if they just open the door for a woman, or if they just pull the chair out, or if they get too close. So how are they supposed to be our mind readers in terms of when we want it and when it's okay and when not?
I can't imagine that someone would yell at somebody for opening a door or pulling out a chair, but apparently it happens. And if that were to happen to a man, I guess he would be disheartened.
Now, with the texting, I can imagine, since now we have a lot more remote work, we most of us communicate by text, by email all day long. That probably would contribute, I would think, to the fatigue of just being on electronic all the time, because we're human beings are herd people. We're herd beings. We need the social contact.
We're social
right?
and gregarious beings.
Yeah.
Yes. And that's why I'm surprised after COVID that people don't just want to get out there, and they just keep texting and texting back and forth. It does get tiresome.
Or maybe because we've been isolated so long, there is also a certain shyness that has set in, or complacency for people
Definitely
to set
complacency.
in, to not go out and confront someone. or
Right.
talk to someone or meet someone,
Yeah,
because
I
it does
think
require an openness, right?
I think people are losing their skills. They're losing their social skills. And, it takes much more effort now to get dressed and go out and meet people and get dressed and get ready for a date, quote unquote.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you also have to be in a good mind, or in a
Yeah.
good mood, in a positive,
Oh,
in a
yeah.
positive vibe
It's
when you
quite a
go
bit.
out. That's true. Would you recommend a certain dating app over others? Are there one where you would say you've tried that and it's definitely not for you?
No, it really, the apps try to differentiate themselves, but they're pretty much all the same. It just depends on what's more popular at the time. I do like Bumble because I get to make the first move and I don't have a barrage of emails coming at me, but at the same time, it's gone the other way, as we discussed.
Right.
And I'm not getting any responses.
Has it happened to you, for example, that you suddenly met on another dating app someone you already met on a previous dating app?
I have had friends who that has happened to, yes.
Interesting. Yeah,
I've
I can
actually
see
had a
that.
friend who made contact with one person, and that person made contact with me.
Oh.
And we were talking one day and found out, and it was a little uncomfortable.
Yeah, but it actually shows that if you have shared interests,
Yeah.
birds of a feather fly together. That
Yes.
usually likes attract likes.
Yeah. Well, she wasn't happy that he was still looking when he had already gone on a date with her.
Oh, so that kind of difficulty. Yeah, I can see that. If you had to give an advice for, in this case, for women who are out there and who are actually dating or who are thinking about going on an app, what are some of the key advice you would give them?
Go with your instincts. That's what I do. There's a lot of telltales that come up. You just have to be aware of them. When for example, if a man says on his profile, "I'm looking for to date people," I'm looking to meet other people, rather than I'm looking to meet a woman for a long-term relationship, that's a sign that he's not as serious for a single woman, and I swipe left on those. Also, if the man, you can see, you can tell what type of person is, what type of person they are by the way they answer questions. If they are very flirty or say things that are, sexual in nature, in the first few texts, they don't have respect for you, that's the type of person they are. They're probably not going to change.
So does it take some practice to get to those experiences?
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Or do you just know straight off out of your gut?
No, it definitely takes practice. There have been many times where I agreed to go out with someone and I said to myself later on, "Oh, I thought that sounded strange what he said, and it turns out he is that type of person, not necessarily bad, just the type that is not for me."
So have you, let me put it this way, and you do not need to answer that one if you don't want to, but what was sort of the longest time you had seen someone in those 3 years of online dating?
Oh, I've had a couple of 6-month relationships.
Okay.
And a couple of, a few 1-month relationships. Sometimes you meet someone and you only have that one drink at the bar, and then you're like, well, it was nice meeting you. And
Now, I want to talk about one other thing that I think is really important. Yes, we understand that nowadays, obviously, people have to meet somehow, and online dating is a way of meeting when all these other things are no longer possible, basically. So, and also you don't want to sit around and wait for it. So obviously you want to do something and communicate your intent and get out and get going with something. But where's the magic in all of this? Is there still room for magic in all of this?
Definitely. There is definitely magic. When you connect with someone, the magic is there.
Yeah, but that's the magic between two people, but not necessarily the magic in how you meet.
Well,
Or is there? Like, for example, I could imagine, for example, that sometimes maybe you get, well, kind of like what you said, with a friend, it turned out that this person already knew someone else. Yes, it was magic the other way, but it could
yeah.
also perhaps go in a different direction.
You really would prefer to meet someone through mutual friends or at the grocery store,
Unexpectedly.
unexpectedly, or at a coffee shop. But you could just as easily meet someone that is, scary or dangerous at a coffee shop as you could online dating.
Yeah, the scary part, I get that. As long as there's still some room with magic.
But the magic, no, I don't think the online dating takes the magic away.
Okay.
When I first started, I thought that was going to be the case, but it wasn't. The stigma is that it takes the magic away completely, and it doesn't.
Okay. So in that time where you were dating online, for example, have you run into conflict with people who seemed to be available, but then they were not?
Oh yes, all the
happens,
time,
right?
all the time. Some people just like to hang out on the website and chat with different people, and it makes them feel good about themselves, but they never want to take that next step.
So it's just hanging out and lurking around?
I don't know if they're lurking or they're just bored at home and they're just having some fun.
Yeah.
Getting compliments from other people. Or, it's very complimentary when someone else is interested in you enough to have a conversation.
Yeah, I can see that. But maybe sometimes people just seek that sort of conversation because there's something missing in where they're at and they don't know yet what they're missing.
True.
Could be.
Yeah,
well.
you don't know. You would never know. Like there's
Yeah.
a lot of times I'll chat with someone and then I'll end the chat because I just realize that I don't like the person as much as I thought initially.
Yeah.
And they might be hurt or angry, but it is what it is.
But I will say one thing, and I will look up the statistics on this one because I'm pretty sure there are statistics on this one. But I've generally observed that among men, it is more common that they like to look for even if something is wrong in the relationship they're in, they like to look for an immediate new relationship while they still haven't ended the old one. Whereas with women, that's usually not the case. When women go forward and say they're ready to see someone new, most women kind of draw the line and say, okay, that's it.
Yes, I believe women are a lot more considerate in that way, and they will break it off with the first person before they start dating the next person. Men do tend to overlap. I don't know if that's happened to me. I don't think so, but I suppose it could have.
Okay, so you're still going at it. So the online dating, you still keep doing it.
I think it's fine, and it's the way people meet nowadays. Even my 20-year-old nephew met his girlfriend on online dating, and I thought I was surprised to hear that.
Yeah.
I thought younger people still go to bars and that's how they meet, but no, they're online dating.
Okay, well, thank you very much. That's it. Thank you.
Online dating. Are you an online dater?
I am not an online dater.
Why not?
I don't want to think negatively about it, but I think it removes a lot of the natural ability to actually meet people, because when you see people or you hear people talking about doing online dating, they're often looking online and they're clicking and they're just swiping through people as if it's an item, and that's not something I can't relate to that. I actually can't relate to looking online to meet someone in hopes of having a relationship or having, whether it's physical, mental. It takes a lot longer and the pressures are a lot higher because there's an expectation by one party or the other. And that's some of the issues I have.
Is that your interpretation though, or is that actually what you've experienced? Have you ever tried it? Let me put it this way.
I have not tried it. It is my interpretation, but I'm also speaking from folks that I have spoken to for quite some time who have experienced some of the same things. They've experienced.
So they're not into online dating because they've had negative experiences.
They give up. They tend to give up. They'll go online. They'll do online dating, but they tend to give up because they say it's too difficult. It's tiresome. It fatigues them because they can't find someone to be true.
What do they mean by that? True to what they say on their profile?
What they say, who they are, how tall they are.
Yeah.
There's so many things that come up. And
yeah, we did the statistics on that, and apparently 53% do lie on height, on weight, on age, on income, on
so
jobs.
more likely than not.
Yeah.
More likely than not is a fair statement then. And I think it's unnatural. I do not think we were designed to meet people by way of a computer to do the work for us. Because you have someone sitting at home, they're bored, and they go online, I don't care what their gender is, and they start looking for people. And for me, from my opinion, it becomes somewhat of a predatory like mindset because you're looking for something instead of just finding something naturally, enjoying people naturally, communicating with someone naturally. You can communicate with someone if it doesn't work, in communication, physical communication, you're in front of one another, then that's fine.
Okay, hang on for a second. I do actually like that point because I think most of us would be looking at something. But you're sort of like saying that it's not, if you don't look for it, it's probably more likely that it just happens.
It could. And I'm a big advocate of that. I have 3 boys. I tell them the same thing. Don't put the pressure on. Typically, when we're younger, we look at a physical attraction by default. That tends to be the majority. We look at the physical aspect of someone versus just, I like that person's demeanor. I like that way that person carries themselves. I like the way that person speaks or listens to me even.
Yeah.
I talk a lot. I'm very loquacious. So
No, that's good. So then what would you suggest though for people to do? Because obviously there are a lot of issues nowadays with people meeting people. If they can't go out, where would they go and meet people? What are you doing to meet people?
Well, I think patience is the number one thing. Having patience so you can back up and think about it and say, how can I meet people? There are so many groups that people tend to ignore because we are all overwhelmed with everything being on the internet.
Yeah.
But if you're on the internet, take advantage of it. There are groups that are out there. You could meet in a golf group, a church group, a book group. There's all sorts of ways to just meet.
So go by your interest.
Yes.
Versus
Go by
your
interest just to see, what possibly can be out there.
Yeah.
I think that's big, for people, and we all overlook it so much. I think there's not enough people who are willing to just find something where they can meet a group of people, male or female, it doesn't matter. That's not the point. Having enough interaction with people, human interaction with people, so that we can comprehend what it is that we could potentially be looking for. Because some of us don't know. Quite often, most of us don't know what we're looking for.
Okay, but the interesting part is actually that you are in IT, so you work with technology the whole time. How does this technology, or actually this non-technology focus in dating, sort of relate to what you do for a living?
That's hard for me to answer. That question was brought to me recently, and I had to think about it, and I'm not sure what happens. I'm a people person. I like to connect with people. Being in IT is my job, but I'm also a very consumer-oriented person.
Outgoing person.
So I am outgoing. From a consumer perspective, I like to be able from a customer perspective,
Yeah.
I like to be able to make people happy, and what I mean by that is giving them whatever needs need to be met, whether they're dealing with a spreadsheet, computer issues, phone issues, just making their life easier, in the workforce. And I enjoy that, and I build relationships off of that. So it's not quite IT for me, because so many of us are in the workplace, and we tend to fear IT, and we immediately, or we fear using a computer, or we immediately pick up a phone call and call someone instead of realizing, hey, I can figure this out myself.
But let me ask you something. So, do you think that for having been under lockdown for 2 years with COVID,
Hmm.
it actually affected our ability to talk to people and date? And this is why more people go online for dating?
It has made it worse. Yes, it has made it worse.
Are we losing our skills?
I think as a whole, we are impatient with the skill sets that others may have or may not have. And I think it's a bit of a difficult thing when you think about it. Because of COVID, everyone was having to stay in the home, and that was difficult. For many people, you got to think about it from a mental aspect, but also physical. Some of us just like to touch people, just like to hug people, or feel needed, and it doesn't necessarily have to be a relationship. Just being able to feel comfortable and feel like you're worth something. A
Yeah.
lot of us missed that when COVID started. So some folks, I feel like they got bored and they got online and they wanted to start clicking away to see what they
Take
could
the
possibly.
pain away,
Yeah,
what they could
and
do?
I think that's a good. Yeah, it's a positive. It's a positive.
Have we also maybe lost our courage to actually ask other people to go out and say, when you're interested
I
in
think that I
someone?
think that's been lost for decades more. Yeah, I think that's been lost for a long time. I go back because I'm in IT. I go back to when Instant Messenger came out. Your AOL Instant Messengers, Yahoo Instant Messengers, and many folks who, and I'm not knocking anyone. If you're an introvert, that was the perfect tool for you because you don't have to communicate with someone directly, and it worked for some people. But that's not human interaction. Again, we are humans. We're designed to. We're not. None of us are here by ourselves. So we weren't born here, just for us, as an individual. So I think that people need to be able to just converse and be okay with it, and also folks need to be okay with the word no, or, or rejection. And I think
What do you mean by that? Let's clarify.
many people, I think today, this is my opinion only, many people today, and I see it in children because of suicide rates and things of that nature,
Yeah.
they don't know how to deal with rejection. They don't have the skill set to deal with and accept rejection, and that's been an issue, across the United States, and well, globally, it's been an issue because we all expect to point and click everything and have an answer to things, and we don't know what to do with that. I don't think enough of us put enough time into realizing, okay, what if she says yes? We think about that. Well, what if she says no? We don't deal with no very well, and next thing you know, there's a physical altercation. There's a stalker out there.
Yeah.
There's always these things because people just simply don't know how to deal. They
With
don't know how to
rejection.
deal. They don't
So
know how to
that's a
deal.
life skill. Are we no longer learning that life skill? It seems we're not.
I think it hasn't been a learned life skill for a long time, but also it's something that it's not taught anymore. How to be okay.
Who should teach it?
Uh,
Parents? School?
Both parents and teachers. I can say, there was a time, in my life where teachers would, teach you a little bit about rejection. If a teacher sees that you like a particular individual,
Yeah.
they want to be able to comprehend and say, and be able to say, hey, I see that you're looking at that person. She's really nice. Treat her right. Teachers can be that. Teachers aren't there to hook children up, but I think teachers can actually help self confidence.
Oh, absolutely.
But it's a problem. There's so many other things that are going on in the world today where teachers don't even get a chance to teach, and but teaching is definitely the starting point to make that happen.
So I think that's actually a really valid point that we all need to learn to deal with rejection and what we do with that. So we don't let it affect our personalities, we don't let it affect our identities, but we actually know how to deal with this and then just take it and go with that. So what would your advice be for people who actually look to go out on the dating scene, and if they don't go online, what's your advice?
If you go on the dating scene, whether it's virtual, in person, or you happen to do a meetup of some sort, be patient. Don't have expectations other than someone showing up. That's the only expectation you have, and let it go from there. going out with someone or meeting with someone you don't know, that could be a segue for meeting someone else. You don't know that until you let it happen, but you really don't have control of it. I don't want to be religious, but sometimes it is God's work to let those kinds of things happen. You have to just let it be natural. And
this is it for this episode. The quintessence, gender in nature actually does matter, as we've just heard in the rooster story, because if there hadn't been a rooster who had the natural thing of fighting about it, Jeanne would have never needed a fence in the first place, and you know the correlating story. And the other part is, isn't it time that we all rebuild our trust in life and how it guides us? Trusting that the right person will show up when you're both ready, that there is something like a resonance that you can bring the person into your life as well. Share your story if you like with us on Facebook. I love to hear your stories and see if you have some magic to share and tell. And we all look forward to see you next week. Have a good night.